What it means, what it means, what it means.
Greetings and welcome to another installation in our epic story about the life and times of the Caribbean Sea. In this chapter, I'm hopping and skipping back to my island home, Jamaica, where I'll be visiting with Osric Forrest, who is with the Caribbean Marine Institute. No, I made a big mistake, and other people made that same mistake because M in CMI does not stand for marine, it stands for maritime. I will be speaking with Osric Forrest in the Caribbean Maritime Institute. So, good morning, Osric. How are you?
Okay, morning, Dr. Nelson. We're great here in Jamaica.
It is so good to be here with you at the Caribbean Maritime Institute. It's the first opportunity I'm having to speaking with somebody in the maritime industry from the perspective of UN World Ocean Day. And this is exciting because most people, when we think about UN World Ocean Day, we are thinking about the fish and we're thinking about all the living things that are in the sea, but we're not thinking about the living things that work on or around the sea, such as people who work with boats and ships and the maritime industry. So tell me a little bit about the Caribbean Maritime Institute. What is it that you do there?
Okay, Dr. Nelson, I do thank you for this opportunity to showcase the Caribbean Maritime Institute. We actually a very unique institution, whereas we focus on, strategies from using our blue ocean strategy, which means that we look for on areas in which nobody else actually focuses. At the Caribbean Maritime Institute, we operate an institution which is multidisciplinary. We focus on maritime sector, the transportation sector, which covers land, air, and sea. In the maritime sector, we actually train seafarers, our core business. Seafarers who man the ocean-going vessels. But we also provide support for several other sectors. We look at the fishing sector. We look at, part of the agricultural sector. We look at fun, where we use the sea for sport. And we look at sustainable development, where we look at using the sea for energy and also drinking water.
Okay, so let's go. Let's take it one by one. So, what I heard you say is that you're unique. Does it mean you're the only institution of its time in the Caribbean region, or there are no other maritime schools, or are you the biggest one? What does that mean?
We're the only one of this kind in the English-speaking Caribbean.
Wow. Okay. Then you say your core business is training maritime people, so seafarers. When I hear seafarers, I'm thinking about people who are on big boats, so people who do yachting. Is this what you do?
Yeah, a combination of all. So we give our young youths, youths in Jamaica, an experience to travel the world. So we train them to be seafarers that are captains, operate vessels. Vessels can be from a mega yacht to an ocean-going vessel, cargo vessel, cruise ships. So they are trained with those competencies. We are whitelisted maritime institutions. So we offer courses at the STCW IMO guidelines.
Okay, so you see now, remember now, you're talking to average poor people like myself who don't know what you're talking about. You see, and this is the problem with you people who are experts in your area. Those of us who are on the street cannot get involved in these sections because we don't know STCI IMO guidelines. What is that? Is that the Seafarer Trustworthy Corporation Initiative or what? When I hear seafarers, really all I think about is pirates. So you're educating people. Are you then, let's just say, to Global Institute? Is that what you're really saying?
Okay, let me make sure everybody is part of the game, right?
Yes.
The maritime sector is part of the transportation industry. Just like we have aviation that is monitoring all the flights across the world, the globe, yes, we have a body that monitors all activities at sea. This institution is called the International Maritime Organization, IMO.
Okay, got you. Because I've been hearing, so when we hear about hijacking, let's say of the coast of Somalia. The reason why we don't hear about hijacking and pirates in the Caribbean because the Caribbean is much more secure and there are more people operating within international guidelines, right?
That is correct. And it is also a very unique, section of the world where we have close borders. So borders are usually policed. So we have countries which are very close in terms of geographic location. So it's much easier to police. Yeah.
So what by police you mean you're policing the sea and the coastline now, right?
The coastline, the border control are much more tighter in the Caribbean region. And it's close to North America, so you have much more activities that can be monitored.
Okay, got you. So you're training now people now. The other thing I didn't really too like is when you say you're training youth and young people. So are you telling me that if me take up myself at my age, me cousin Clara at my age, take up myself to say I want to start a new career, you won't take me on board because I'm over 50? Is that what you're really telling me?
No, certainly not. What happened is that the greatest number of where we have employment need is a youth. So the focus is on that. But we provide training, for anybody who's physically fit. Plus, there are several categories in which you can work.
Well, that's
From
probably where you
age-
would catch me now. Because
yeah.
if physically fit, if you had to tell me, okay, I have to be able to run 2 miles under 10 minutes, then you would catch me and get me out right there. Okay, so go ahead. Physically
But
fit, move ahead.
there are several categories. Remember, we have education component in which you can be on land. But you have to realize that at sea, they use the term able-bodied seaman.
Yes,
Able-bodied means that you must be able to survive on your own under any conditions at sea. So
got you.
the training to be a seafarer is actually a rigid, mental, physical, and psychological component.
So let's talk a little bit about what the training of the seafarer is. Is it more like a military type discipline?
Well, at CMI, we operate a paramilitary training, function where we actually equip the youngsters to deal with all conditions at sea. You mentioned the scenarios in terms of hijacking. Once you're at sea, aboard a vessel, that vessel can have business in any section of the globe. We also have on board a vessel, different lifestyles. The vessel can be owned by any, not necessarily Jamaicans, but any other national. So you have to be able to adapt to whatever conditions you are on. The nature of the sea also is very, very, very dynamic, very interesting, very exciting, but it also very, carry its challenges. So you have to be, empowered to manage yourself during that space. But not ruling it out, we have other vessels like cruise ships where there are soft skills on the cruise ship. People work in the dining room, attendants. We have, different categories of the workforce. So we provide support systems so persons can gain employment in several areas.
Okay, so the Maritime Institute is working first of all in the workforce development for the transportation sector that is using the sea, any kind of transportation on the sea,
Yeah,
right?
that is one of our components.
Okay, then I heard you say another very interesting component I heard you talk about was the energy component. So tell me about the energy component.
Okay, what happens is that the Caribbean Maritime Institute, we operate three faculties. One is the School of Advanced Skills, where we look at competency-based training and transferring skill set into productivity solutions. In that school, what we do is actually look at how we can enhance lifestyle or livelihood by using natural resources. One such resource in the Caribbean that is abundant, is the ocean, the sea. We're surrounded by water. The next is the sun. So what we have done is actually use the sea to transform to drinking water through the basic process of reverse osmosis. So we have
Ah,
established a pilot plant, funded by some of our interest group where we actually demonstrate that this is possible.
this is very, very interesting. So the current pilot plant that you are working on, is that there in Kingston with you?
Yeah, it is located at the Caribbean Maritime Institute main campus, Palisades, in Kingston.
And that is near the airport, isn't it?
That is correct, just between the airport and our city harbor view.
Okay, so about how many gallons of water per day can you get from this facility?
Okay, this facility is a very small. It gives you about 200 gallons per day, at its maximum or capacity.
And it's powered by solar, right?
That's correct. We have actually enhanced it by using solar power to provide us energy.
And was the project done in such a way that the young people actually built it themselves? How was the project done?
Okay, the project is actually what we looked at is a portable desalinization plant using a traditional container, containerized
You mean
box.
those big 40-foot containers that people ship stuff in?
That is correct. So we're actually trying to utilize things which would have been discarded. So we use that to build the model or the shelter. The shelter is powered by solar. So we have plants, solar panels, which are, installed on top. And we're inside this facility, we have the plant that is used to process the water.
I find this very interesting because I think if you think about coastal zone management and disaster preparedness, it might be a very useful thing to really ramp up your pilot research then and see how you could have almost like a kit approach. And then you think about those communities around the Caribbean coast. I mean, Jamaica is fortunate we have potable water in most places, but there's some islands and some countries, not just islands, let's say off the coast of Nicaragua and where very poor communities are who have potable water problems. So this might actually be something that is a transferable, product. So how are the students finding the experience in learning more about energy and solar energy and relationship to energy and water?
Well, it's very exciting, especially transferring the seawater into drinking water, where they actually taste the water. So they actually see the difference and also the byproducts that can be derived from it. We're talking about sea salt. So they're very, very much excited. The other component is when they see, they in their research, they read that, desalination plants are, high consumption of energy. And
Mhm.
seeing that we are able to harness energy from the sun
Mhm.
and operate the plant, it shows that, that there's a lot of scope for development. And I'm glad you mentioned the part in terms of rural village, because one of the reasons why we make it as a containerized system or portable is that we can establish or set up these plants, at a rural fishing village to improve the quality of the product which are sold to the public. We also, you mentioned schools which are in rural areas. We can provide, proper water, for youngsters, because the water can also be, the treatment, the same system can be used to treat gray water or any form of water which is, you have impurities. So
Ah.
it is very flexible. It has a lot of value, and with the proper support, we can, do more work to get this as a staple right across South America and the Caribbean region.
So, okay. So we talked about energy. What about now working with the fishers and communities? I think I did hear you say also CMI is involved in sustainable development, and I presume fishing villages that are using small boats, artisanal fisher folk. How do you work with the artisanal fisher folk, the fishers, in terms of their boats, their boat engines, whatever training? I mean, the last fisher folk I met told me when I asked him how does he navigate, he told me by the stars. I was blown away because I just can't, and to show how skilled these people are, they may not have gone to school and studied any book, but they certainly can find their way across the open sea to go out, spend nights in the sea, and come back home. So how are you working with them?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that as another component. What happened is that the whole era of fishing has evolved over the years, over generations, over decades.
Yes,
And where we are now, there's a lot of technology in
yes.
which and can make life easier, or we call safety at sea or safe at sea. Because the bottom line is that we want our fisher folks to return to their families and also to sustain fishing, to be able to fish for another day. So one component we do is actually offer training to our fisher folks right across the Caribbean. In Jamaica, we use partners like the JSIF, Jamaica Social Investment Fund.
Yes.
We are one of their main partners. We also
Mhm.
use the R Trust NTA, our national training agency, to
Mhm.
assist in training partners. Last year, for example, we had over 325 fisher folks trained right across Jamaica, at a total of 17 fishing beaches. the focus was on safety at sea. So we actually had them in sessions, different literacy and numeracy levels. We broke the program down so that everyone could be left, at a certain level, to leave the program at a certain level of competency. So the focus was on safety at sea, the use of safety gears, navigating safety, the value of equipment, the basic gears, whether it's the GPS, the typical systems which are part of a cell phone nowadays, can be used to assist. So the sun is there as a old tradition that we inherit from our forefathers, but we have to incorporate, new technologies to make life safer.
Yes.
So
Well, the only thing about it is at least if the GPS is dead or the battery dies or somebody takes out a satellite, I don't want them to lose their ability to negotiate their way by Sarah and Son.
That's correct, because we do incorporate the non-traditional way on our training, because it's a very focused training, because it's survival at sea. So you have to be equipped to function regardless of conditions which you are met upon. So as you mentioned, there may be a failure of power, a failure of technology. So you have to ensure that you can function. So we do incorporate, the old technologies and the new technologies and also future technologies. So persons can be empowered to research and also develop new systems.
Now,
go ahead. You can go ahead, please.
Now, so on the Fisher Folk here, do you also work with them in terms of any of their boats or their boat engine work? Is there any kind of helping to learn how to fix stuff?
Yes.
Or to make stuff?
Yeah, we actually extend what we call an ecotourism or a function where we train them to utilize a vessel other than fishing, so they can sustain livelihood outside of the season when the fish is not outside of fishing season. We also train them to maintain the vessel, both from the engine side and also the framework, the structural in terms of repainting, refinishing, and the general care of the vessel. So it's a full package that we offer to individuals.
Wow. So again, I'm asking these questions because when you think about the sea and the ecosystem of the sea, we often forget that the fishes that we talk about, we focus only on the life of the fish and the fact there's no fish or we have an invasion of fish or the fish dying off or whatever, but we don't spend enough time thinking about that relationship of how those people get to be fishers in the first place, what goes into keeping them on the sea, and the cost of being a fisher. Is it even cost effective given the cost of buying these things and the cost of the price of fish and the fact we can't even afford fish, most of us, anymore? So, okay, so we've talked about energy, we have talked about fishing, we have talked about the training. Is there anything else that you're doing that is about the sea and the use of the sea that I have forgotten to ask you about?
Okay, what we take an approach of edu-fun. Because we realize that persons get interested in learning when there's some fun engagement, involved.
Yes.
What we do, we have our rowing team, so we utilize the sea for rowing. So we are the only, institution or country in this region who offers rowing as a sport. So we do it for recreation and sporting. We also offer sailing, so we train persons to actually, do recreational sailing. So if you have your own craft, you can come by the CMI, we'll train you to operate that craft.
Wow.
We do boating, general boating.
Yes.
And we incorporate, the elements of the sea into our pre-college program. So our youngsters are exposed to life from the sea from early age. So we teach them commercial fishing, recreational fishing, how to utilize the sea for fun and sport. And
what about diving? Any diving?
Yeah, we also have partners, we partner to offer diving. So any component we that looks at the sea, the CMI is able to do a needs assessment, create the package and deliver the program.
I never hear you say one thing. What about swimming in the sea for people like me?
Yeah, we have the diving and the swimming. We have a partner that we support that. We focus on mainly swimming at sea. We don't really do much, in terms of the pool. We look at the sea for our support.
Well, again, this is why I asked, because there's a proverb that goes, sea no have no back door. And
Yeah,
so that proverb meant that most of us were not allowed to go in the sea or near the sea. And so
exactly.
most of us are still afraid of swimming because we didn't have access to pools. So the
Yeah,
reason why people say, how come Caribbean people can't swim? Well, because number one, during slavery, we weren't allowed to go near the sea. When
all right.
slavery was over and we could go near the sea,
All right.
our parents still kept us away from the sea. So that's why Caribbean people cannot
Yeah,
swim.
and our fisher folks, Doc, because you realize that during our engagement with the fisher folks, at least 60% of them realize could not swim. So, so we have to incorporate that in our program,
Oh my
because
God.
they try to be safe in the boat, so they have no need to go in the water. So they will go out for long hours and return safely. So they are doing this for years, but they have not really looked at in case there's an incident or their need to, provide help to another fisher folk. So, we have to get them at rest to understand that being in the water, survival at sea is what we call it, is okay. So we have to break that fear from persons who are fishing from 30, 40 years and get them to understand that survival at sea is key.
Yes.
And you have to be in the water, at least for 5 minutes. So we
Yes.
teach them how to survive in the water for 5 minutes. And treading that water, the use of the life vest, the value of the
Oh.
life vest, keeping the
Wow.
life vest clear, clean.
Yes.
Other instruments you can use in the boat for flotation devices. So
Yes.
it's just part of the game.
Wow, this has been such a fascinating conversation, and we have come to the end of the conversation. I can't believe 20 minutes have gone by, but I'm really excited about this, and I want to thank you for taking time from your busy schedule. Before we go, I want you to say a phrase that begins, life needs the Caribbean Sea because.
Life needs the Caribbean Sea because it is life. It keeps us alive. It keeps us going. It inspires our life.
I think I'm gonna see if I can turn it one up. So life needs the Caribbean Sea because it is life. It keeps us alive. It keeps us going because it is the wave of life.
That is correct, Doc. And see us for our summer program. We are also a camp where we introduce our youngsters to the sea. It's held every year for 3 weeks. Anywhere from around the world, we offer accommodation coming down to the Caribbean Maritime Institute. 3 weeks in July. Takes us back to our independence celebration. It's a marvelous time for any youngster aged 16 to 24.
Thank you so much. And folks, that was Mr. Osric Forrest. He's Director of Strategy and Planning at the Caribbean Maritime Institute in Kingston, Jamaica. Take care, Oz.
Yeah, thank you for having me and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.